You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are The Breakfast Club. We have the CEO of Shea Moisture in the building.
The founder and CEO.
Founder and CEO.
Yes, the latest,
Rich Dennis.
the latest man to get jumped by black women on social media.
Absolutely. Did he get
You
jumped?
felt that wrath? I know the feeling. It's not a good feeling.
But he felt like it was justifiable, and you did issue an apology.
Yeah, we did not, that was not something that we wanted to. We've always stood for black women.
Let's talk to the mic, bro.
Oh,
there you go.
we've always stood for black women in the black community, and we acknowledge that that ad, although it went out, it was it didn't get caught, it didn't go through our approval process.
Mm-hmm.
But we acknowledged it, we owned it, we stand up and say, it's not what we intended to do.
Well, what exactly happened? Because I was confused.
talk us through it.
Yeah, people was hitting me like, you got to give Shea Moisture donkey today. I didn't understand. Even when Angela reported the story yesterday, I still didn't get what was going on.
Yeah. So we're doing a much broader campaign, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the campaign is called Everybody Gets Love. And the whole idea was in this environment of where there's so much hate. Let's talk about how you turn hate into love.
So outside of just African women, just everybody.
African women?
African Americans,
women.
what he meant to say.
African American women.
What?
Outside of African American women. Outside of African American women, you wanted to go to every type of woman out there.
Yeah, well, the whole idea was we had over 40 different pieces of content that came from 30 different women, of which 22, 23 of them were women of color, right? And so the idea was that, hey, all of these different women have different need states, right? Hair issues, right? We weren't trying to talk about cultural issues or who's struggle issues, or that's not what the intent was. The intent was, hey, you've got these different issues, you've been dealing with them. Let's have a conversation about them, and let's put them out there. And that's how we've along with black women and the natural hair movement, that's how we've collectively moved this movement forward, is talking about the different issues.
Right.
And so out of these, actually it was 60 pieces of content. Out of these 60 pieces of content, each of them had different hair types, if you will, right? And somebody with thick curly hair, versus somebody with fine red hair, right? And so this particular piece of the 40, this particular piece, the diversity of hair types that were in there, right, did not include, as the rest of them did, a woman with thick curly hair, or a dark-skinned woman, wasn't represented in that piece.
The natural hair struggle, which is a real struggle for a
it's
natural black,
Exactly.
We have a lot of issues.
And
so it was supposed to be a commercial for natural hair.
It was a commercial about women and their different hair types and what they do to overcome the challenges that they have with those different hair types. Right.
But certain women with different challenges with their hair have challenges not just with doing their hair, but also in the workplace. Like, certain people feel like they've been targeted or fired or told they can't wear their hair a certain way when they come in the workplace. Certain women feel like their hair struggles are different than just the struggle of, oh, my hair is blonde, I shouldn't have dyed it.
Agreed, and that's a different struggle. That's what we came,
okay.
and that's a different struggle, and that's what we came out and said. Hey, number one, we should have made sure that hair type was represented, right? And that we acknowledge that, right? Number two, we were not trying to communicate that this hair struggle is equal to this hair struggle, because you're right. There are different cultural issues that we deal with, right? And so but we weren't trying to sort of compare the cultural issues.
It wasn't that deep. It was a superficial kind of doing your hair.
It was just about doing your hair,
right?
And in hindsight, We should have spoken directly to we should have explained what the campaign was, because I think it got sort of dropped out of context, and that particular piece that didn't have everything that should have been in there and complete. It was incomplete, right? And then it got dropped out of context. So the whole campaign, or the whole idea behind the campaign, was never released. But that's really besides the point. What is the point is that we're a brand that have stood for this community, and we're going to continue to stand for this community. And we're going to make mistakes, and when we make those mistakes, we're going to own them.
Now, in the commercial, there was no black women in the commercial?
There was a black woman.
She had curly hair, but it wasn't the thicker texture. Like women,
I thought it was mad at the white women in the commercial.
Well,
that's what I thought too.
I think it was the lack of representation of the women who have supported Shea Moisture from the beginning. And Shea Moisture is known in the black community as this is our.
But didn't y'all do like mad commercials though? Wasn't it like 30 commercials?
So yes, right. But what I think we have to keep remembering is that when we stand for this community, and as we broaden the reach of the brand and the community, because we have to in order to continue to grow, we also can never forget what we mean to this community, right? And who's gotten us thus far, and we have to continue to stay focused on her and represent her everywhere that we are.
Why do black companies always feel like they have to make everybody comfortable? Like why we just can't be with each other? Like I feel like we're all we need. Like why do we feel like we got to add a white person in the commercial to make it broader? Like why do we feel that way?
So there's a couple of reasons, and I don't know that you'd necessarily sort of say, hey, we got to add additional people, because that's not necessarily what we were trying to do, right? But to answer your question, what has happened is Shea Moisture is the brand that have brought that have been alongside black women in the struggle for the past 25 years around natural hair, right? And we're the brand that has stood up for them and said, hey, those same things that you were talking about, Angela, you should be able to wear your hair as it grows out of your head, wherever. And we've been on record as we were the first company that was doing national commercials, saying that and doing things like that, right?
Right, because think about how people say about black women, you nappy-headed hoe and stuff like that. Like things that black women go through with their hair are very separate from what other women of other ethnicities go through.
But that's not just a black woman thing, though.
But we
black men get called nappy-headed all the time.
Well, we're focusing on women now. This campaign was about women.
But we provided that platform for women, right, and for black women, and they want to make sure that we don't give that platform up for them. And so as we broaden, as we've broadened, there's that concern, and we're reassuring. We're not doing that. That's not what we're trying to do. This wasn't executed the way that we wanted it executed, and so they rightfully got upset.
But you want to expand. I mean, I guess you're saying you just don't want one clientele. You're expanding broaden not just your core, but seeing who else can use your product.
But we want to go forward. but we want to go forward with our core. We want our core to move forward with us, right? And we don't want to move on without them, and we don't want them to feel like we're moving on without them. So that's the first thing. But the second thing, to answer your question, why you have to expand, as a black business, right? What happens is that we've built businesses to a certain point, and then we don't have the resources to move those businesses to the next level. We don't have the resources to continue to innovate. And then what happens is when the larger companies understand the size of the opportunity in the market, they start investing in it. Right. So what you see now is you see other companies that hadn't played in this space before are now rebranding their products to speak to you. They're changing up their marketing and their commercials to speak to you. They have bigger budgets. They have bigger budgets. They have more money. And the way that we can compete is by growing, right? Going
into their territory. I got you.
Right. And if we're not allowed to do that, then what happens is that most of us sell. I mean, if you look at what's happening in the marketplace today, they're not in the top 10 of black hair care, right? there's only two black-owned companies.
No, I get it.
Right.
I get what you're saying from that standpoint, because even with certain places, like for my daughter, trying to find Shea Moisture in certain areas is very difficult because they're not in certain areas. So you see the companies, let's say like Paul Mitchell, who'll start doing stuff for African American women and for my daughter, and it's easier to find. So they gotta touch that territory.
It's backwards thinking though, because they'll get upset if you put 2 white women in the commercial. But somebody like a Paul Mitchell will put all black people in the commercial, but it's a white-owned company.
Right.
So it don't make any sense, really.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about it is that the whole dynamic of how this came together was not consistent with the dynamic that we've built on, right? And so I think that's what they were. I think that's what. One of the reasons that women are very upset.
Right.
And to that we've said, hey, don't let, this one particular incident, right, that we've owned up to, right, and it wasn't done with malintent, don't let that erase the 25 years that we've built with you.
It's still a black-owned company.
It still is, and that's the other thing is, and so, now the because of all of this, there's, we've got to continue to share with them that we are still a black-owned company. The company is still run by my family, right? It's still the leadership positions. The head of marketing is black. The head of communications, the head of innovation. So the leadership is still there. This was something that got missed through the leadership.
Who approved the video though? Who gave that video?
So so the whole campaign went through the approval process, but there were so many pieces that one particular piece did not go through that approval process. So we're reviewing it now to see, hey, where did this fall through the cracks? What happened? Let's, give us an opportunity to understand it, and we will then make the adjustments to make sure that this never happens again. But we're not here saying, hey, we're perfect, and so you got to give us an opportunity to do that. But the responses have been so great and so rapid and so quick to say, hey, let's not support this company that has supported us all this time. Let's say, hey, there, and then talking about our employees, which really isn't fair because our employees didn't make this decision. These, the people that are being targeted weren't even in that department, didn't have anything to do with it.
Well, that's, social media is just extremely harsh. But I mean, we've watched Shea Moisture grow. People know that I've always supported Shea Moisture.
Thank you for that.
And posted the products and talked about it. A lot of people hit me up like, what are you going to say about Shea Moisture now?
Yeah.
It's interesting because the other day I was, when I drive to work, the guy who does in the parking garage, right? He says to me, I don't want to be, sound weird or anything, but he was like, what lotion is it that you use? Because it smells really good every time I get in the car and I want to get some from my wife. And he's white.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, it's the Shea Moisture, the goat's milk one or whatever. And so I actually came and brought him in some the next day so he could give it to his wife. And certain things, yes, it's for everybody. It's inclusive. And I guess a lot of people did grow with Shea Moisture from the beginning. And those were people of color, women of color that had struggles finding the right things for their hair. A lot of people say Shea Moisture products actually help them, develop their natural texture for their hair and make it work better for them as far as controlling everything. But I guess people felt a little like, okay, now you used us and then you left us behind just because of this one.
That's the thing.
2 white women. How many white women was it?
2.
2 white women out of 25 years, and they don't have the cachet for people to be like, oh, we still rock with them. That's a little disappointing.
But
to me,
I think it's great that you can say
we gotta stop doing that
it
to
was a
people,
mistake.
man.
We
but that's
apologize
why I'm sitting here, right? That's why I'm sitting here. I started this business selling soap on the streets of New York.
Right.
I've been
Black
rocking black soap. That's right. You know it.
Not white
right?
soap.
I've been rocking hard for black women all my life, right? I got 4 daughters. I want them to have a great experience when they go into retail, right? When they go shop, right? I want them to have the products that they need. But I also know that in order for us to continue to provide that, look, you tell me one other beauty company out there, a hair care company out there that takes, reinvest millions of dollars back into the community after we've made the sale. Not marketing to the community, sending people to college, sending people to executive ed programs, almost 15,000 women in. I mean, stop and think about it. You're going to boycott a company that's rocked with you all these years, that did what they did, that acknowledged the issues and is aware of what the issues are, but that also has 15,000 women that they're trying to take out of poverty in West Africa, and that they've been doing for the past 25 years. You're going to impact those people because we made one commercial that and it wasn't even a commercial, it was a post that didn't hit the mark when we've hit the mark for you consistently. And then the other thing is that then it's the employees, let's go after the employees.
They posted a woman, like a white woman, like this is the woman.
And it's so unfair to her because she had nothing to do with
this.
What is
her role though? What is she?
She's on the sales team. So she and she's on the sales team, and that brand strategy is for retail accounts. So when we go talk to retailers, she's in there helping with the strategy, what we put on shelf, how we get there. And she built literally, she started, she's been with us for maybe 8-9 years before we were even on the shelves in Target. And she at that time, she was responsible for saying, hey, how do we take care of this community? Because we, like I said, I started selling soap on the street.
Right.
I didn't know all of this stuff, right? And she was there to help us do that. And so to now, she had nothing to do with this commercial. Right. She's not in that department. She absolutely nothing. To be targeted like that, it just isn't right. And I know our community is better than that. I just think that they're hurt, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to say, hey,
right.
I understand that we hurt you. I get what it is. I feel the pain, but you can't destroy everything that we've all built together because of that.
That you can't focus on the negative, man. Black-owned businesses have white employees sometimes, and black-owned products will have white people in the commercial sometimes. Like that's just the way it happens.
And listen, black people buy from white-owned companies all the time with no problem. So that, like, I'm very supportive of Shea Moisture just because I've watched the whole come up, and I think it's great products anyway. So
why not just say the white people in the commercial were transracial and say that they identify as black women? That's what I would. That's how I would have spun it.
But it is something. But it is something just to be sensitive about, and it is something to move forward when you just say, okay, I made a mistake, something like that. Obviously you have done a lot for people and for people of color, for women of color in general. I see Shea Moisture at all these different events, supporting black events. So I don't feel like this should be one incident that is, boycott the company, make them go out of business, I'm taking my business somewhere else. I don't feel like it was a conscious,
yeah, and and I think the other thing that look, I'm sitting here, I'm accountable. I'm owning it. I'm not running away from it.
Though, because what about in the future if you want to put an Asian in a commercial or maybe another white person? Like what about, because it's gonna happen?
No, but I think what we're doing, I think what we're doing is saying, hey guys, we've been here for you. We're going to continue to be here for you, and we need you to support us as we grow, so that we can still be here for you 10 years from now, right? And we're going to need to grow into other markets and to serve other consumers. But you've got to rock with us and be confident, because we've been confident in sticking in being out there for you. You got to support us so that we can continue to grow and compete. Because if we don't do that, we will end up. I always say, look, there were black beauty companies that came along before us, right? And there were family-owned companies, and I give them all the credit for having opened this door for us. Right. We then came in and we took it to this level, and we've opened the doors for a lot of others to come in, a lot of other black-owned companies to come in. But what's also happened is that we're now competing against multinationals with global businesses. And if we're going to stay in a position to compete, you've got to rock with us as we move forward. And then on the other side of it is that there are women out there that have needs that haven't been met, right? They want natural products. They want products that are good for them. They want products that work for their hair types. And so all we focus on is, let's go solve the needs of these different hair types, right? But let's stay close to our community. Let's continue to develop in our community. Let's continue to build in our community. And just because we're growing as a business doesn't mean we're leaving our community. In fact, go look at the record. I've been doing this a long time. I'm still here, right?
How do you feel about Trey Songz saying fuck to Shea Moisture? And
I think
throw
he
that
just
stuff out?
didn't. I think he just didn't know.
He riding with his
I think
sisters.
he
Ain't
just-
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think he just didn't know, and I don't know him, but we'll reach out to him and say, hey, dude, this is what happened.
Send him
Understand
some
it?
products. He got
Yeah.
the little afro. He growing the afro back.
Well, he's obviously got product because he said he
He's
was.
gonna throw it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Now, let me ask you
So
this.
I think he just didn't know. He doesn't understand the
I
the
read
story.
some people saying this. I don't know if this is true or not because obviously things go crazy. But they were saying that you guys have changed your products to cater to like the ingredients.
That's absolutely not.
And I
true.
saw a lot of people
Yeah,
saying that, and I just want to clarify.
That's I think this is part of that. This is part of that. Us, we have to continue to educate, and we've got to continue to be out and to explain and share, right? So clearly, as a company, we're held more accountable than other companies because of who we are and what we mean to this community. And we'll take that on. And then we now have to step up and say, okay, guys, as we move forward, here are the things that we're going to do, right? We have to be transparent. We have to come out ahead of time and say, in order for you guys to rock with us and stay with us, right, we got to let you know where we're headed. So we'll come out and do that. What we did was we didn't change formulas to go after a different
Did
consumer.
my son just walk by in the
Yeah,
middle
he
of
did.
the
Yeah, he just
Logan,
did.
Logan said big ass yawn. Logan said, Logan was like, man,
You sure did. Yeah. No, what
Logan was like, we ain't got no shea butter
Yeah,
products in our house.
crazy, man.
I bet he do though.
No, my daughter
Yeah, I bet he do. But so we've got to let them know how we're moving forward. So let's talk about that for a second. We didn't change formulas to go after a different consumer, right? We in the past year alone, we've launched over 30 products for hair products, right? For women with 3B to 4C hair, right? Whether it's protective styling, we did a whole collection around that. 100% extra virgin coconut oil. We just did about 8 or 10 products around that. High porosity and low porosity. Nobody else was thinking about those challenges that those hair textures, women with those hair textures have. We did that. But we also did additional collections for volume, for fine, for women. So like the way you're wearing your hair now, if you want volume, we should be able to provide that for you, right?
Right.
And that goes across different hair textures. So we didn't change formulations for that. And as a business, right? We update packaging so that it's fresher. Trends change, so you clean up the packaging. You add things. It's a regulatory environment, so regulations change. So you have to update your ingredient listings. They want you to put Latin names on the ingredients now instead of just the actual. We may call it jojoba oil, but there's a Latin name for it. So that it's standardized. As we serve markets like the UK and places like that, they have different regulations, so we have to update packaging
technical
to do that.
reasons.
Yeah, it's technical reasons, and it's not to change the formula so that we can
Accommodate white people.
yeah, and that's not what it is at all. I mean, we put a tool out. Another thing is investing in technology so that, who else is doing that for our community, right? Investing in technology so that you can go in and you can learn your hair type and you can figure out which product works best for you so you can save money not buying the products that don't work for you. So those are the things that we're doing, and but we have to make sure that with this community,
Right.
we continue to inform them of what we're doing
Right.
instead of doing it, because there's a lot of mistrust that's built up over the years.
Because black people have a history of selling out when they get to a certain position, and our people just want to make sure that our people ain't selling out. That's all.
And we're not, and that's another very important point, right? So if you think about the radio station business, right? You guys are in the radio business, right? How many black-owned radio stations are there?
Zero, none.
Okay.
Well, they used to be in New York, zero.
Right.
But
even nationally, right? There's very few.
Radio One still.
Yeah,
black-owned.
Radio One is the biggest, and they're extraordinarily well run. They do a great job with running that business and growing that business.
Stevie Wonder owns a few, I believe.
Yeah, yep. Kathy Hughes founded that business and did that. Stevie Wonder owns a few. But when you think of the audiences that you guys speak to, right, and the fact that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, there were hundreds of black-owned radio stations, right? Look at where we are today. So we have to support our black businesses so that they can grow and reach larger markets, so that they can be there and they can continue to be in our communities and invest in our
So
communities.
how much would, because the black hair industry is a $500 million industry,
Right.
correct? That would seem like that would seem
That's
like
not-
more than enough. That's not true?
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
you know that's the whole
Hair industry.
That's the whole hair industry.
Okay.
Right. And what the IRI data calls sort of the black or the multicultural hair segment is about 500 million out of all of that.
Oh, so y'all want to touch them billions is what you're saying. And in order to touch the billions,
Well, I think
you got to bring in
I think-
Rachel Dolezal.
I think no, that's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying at all. What we're saying is that about out of that 500 or so a million, we got the data I can share with you guys. Out of that 500 million or so, almost 70% of that is going to companies that are either multinational or that aren't black owned, right? So you take that pie, you cut it even further, and now they're attacking that segment because that segment is the fastest growing segment in the marketplace.
Right.
So as they attack that segment, they're going to take more and more of that share
Market share.
away from the entrepreneurial businesses that started in this space. And if you look at the data, those natural hair companies, those entrepreneurial black-owned natural hair companies that sort of pioneered this wave of entrepreneurship that we're seeing, many of them are flat to declining in terms of sales.
Right.
So they'll start to lose, and the reason is because these other companies are pumping in all the marketing, they're pumping in all the resources.
They're available in all of the major
and
retailers.
they have the distribution, they have the right. So what we're saying is that in order for us to compete against that, we've got to be allowed. We've got to be encouraged, right, to continue to go and take share and to compete in a real way. Even just if you want to compete in just that particular segment of it. Now, what is true though is that much larger beauty pie that you talk about doesn't just include hair care. It's bath, it's skin, it's all these different categories that you go in, and we're shopping those categories in you need lotion, you can go buy Shea Moisture, please. You need baby products, go buy Shea Moisture, please. So we've pushed into other categories.
Gotcha.
Just so that we're here. We want to be here 20 years later. The other thing that is a real challenge here, and that we should think about also, is when we need the resources and the capital, right, to push forward, and we can't get those resources and that that's another big constraint, right? So we've got to constantly be growing in order to get the capital to grow, right? So it's not a matter of, hey, let me go get those billions. It's a matter of, if I just want to stay where I am,
right,
there are things that otherwise I'm going backwards because it's competition. I mean, you guys have competition. If you're not pushing forward every day, your competition is, and you've got to do that. So it's not that we're leaving or we're doing something different.
So the goal is to really cater to your core audience while continuing to expand that core and making it.
You absolutely that's it. That's it. Cater to our core while we expand. That's exactly it. But we also can't take for granted that our core loves us very deeply, and when they see us doing things that they may not understand, they are clearly hurt by that.
Well, you've
And
built
we don't
this
wanna
emotional
hurt them.
connection. It doesn't feel like it's some big corporation that's untouchable and unreachable, because you go in the community, so they do hold you more accountable than
Absolutely, and that's why I'm here taking it. I'm gonna stand up and say, hey, you know what? This one here wasn't executed the way that we needed it to be executed. It wasn't the vision that we had for executing it, and it hurt people. And for that, we've said, black women everywhere, we apologized for that. But now we've got to say, okay, we've acknowledged it. We know what we did. We know that we won't do it again. We'll figure out what we have to figure out to make sure it doesn't happen again. But like I keep saying, all of those thousands of people that depend on us in Africa, all of the hundreds of employees that we have here, should not be threatened or attacked for something they had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you for joining us.
Yeah, I guess my final question is: are you upset that now, like you are trying to expand? What if by kind of like denouncing, I guess, the white people in this situation?
It seems like he's denouncing.
I'm not denouncing anybody. I'm not. No.
He's saying other women should have been, the women that should have been included weren't included.
Weren't included. That's all.
Okay.
That's all.
Gotcha.
I'm not. No. I mean, let's be clear here. You know, we're not denouncing people. We're not running away from people. We're not changing things. We're not going. All we're saying is that I think you said it best, right? We're gonna continue to serve our core while we expand, right? And in order to do that, we need to make sure that we communicate well, and that our with our core, and as our communications go out, we need to make sure that they are representative of our core as well as the markets that we're expanding into, but not to be seen as though we're just expanding into one market. I mean, and the other thing that's been interesting about this whole situation has been how many people actually are out supporting us, right? And how many people are giving us the benefit of the doubt. And we just need more people to say, hey, you know what? We hear you. We get it. Show us that you are who you are, and continue to do that. Not try to tear everything that we've built down. Because if you
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I still don't know what the hell's going on, really. I'm just riding with the sisters, but I don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on. I'm going to be honest with you.
All right.
Maybe she just do a commercial, have a car pull up with a white woman in it, car pull up with a black woman, white woman rolls the window down. Hey, do you have any Shea Moistures I can borrow? And the black woman says, no, bitch, and drives off. That'll be
Anyway, Rich Dennis, we appreciate you for joining us. Thank you for stopping through and clarifying some of this stuff.
Thank you.
You don't understand, but he's
thank you. I think, you know what, I appreciate you guys, and thank you for the support. And we're gonna keep fighting and doing what we do to make sure that we do right by our core, and that we have this business here to support the core going forward, as well as continuing to try to grow so we can continue to invest in our communities.
All right. Well,
we
it's
love
the
you,
Breakfast
black
Club.
women. Say it.
We love you, black women. There you go.
All right. It's the Breakfast Club. It's Rich Dennis.
The Breakfast Club. Every weekday morning. Tune in.